Tavam eshe rathanam urvim gavyuti mesham ratahavyasya sushtutim dadharik stomaich manamahe. Therefore, you, O gods, I desire. For the rushing of these chariots, your wide pasture of the herds. Forcefully by our hymns, our minds seize on his perfect affirmation. When the God receives our bounteous offering. Forcefully by our hymns, our minds seize on his perfect affirmation. Ratahavya, that's exactly the name of the rishi, Ratahavya. When the God receives our bounteous offering, it's quite interesting because Ratahavyasya, it's the one who receives the offering. So the sushtuti, the perfect affirmation of the one who receives the offering, suddenly, dadharik, forcefully, stomaich, by our affirmations, by our praising hymns, manamahe, we fix in our mind, we think, or we contemplate. We contemplate by the hymns forcefully on the perfect affirmation of the one who receives the offering, literally.
Now, can I ask you then about the grammar of this? Because it seems like it's a little bit all over the place, but so it's therefore you, O gods. So it's Mitra Varuna, that's dual.
Yes.
You too.
Yes.
So that's dual. And then by our hymns is also, that's plural, first person plural.
Third person. Oh, sorry, third.
Oh, yes.
Third vibhakti.
No, third. I know what you mean. I know third vibhakti. And then his perfect affirmation is
Ratahavyasya.
But Havyasya, that's Shashti.
Yes.
But it's his perfect. So it's
Sushtutim and Ratahavyasya of the one whose or the God receives our bounteous offering. This is Ratahavya, yeah? The one when the God receives, or of the perfect affirmation of the one who receives the offering, literally. Yeah? Perfect affirmation, we think of perfect affirmation of the one who receives the offering forcefully with our hymns or our affirmations.
But it's the two of them that are receiving the offering.
Yeah, but here it doesn't matter because sushtuti is the perfect affirmation. Yeah, whether they two or many, it is not mentioned. We have thinking about perfect affirmation of the one who receives the offering, whoever it is. Of the Aurobindo here puts as the God. Okay, let me read my interpretation. Maybe it will help. Such great are you, whom I desire and aspire towards, for these many chariots of ours are seeking to get to the vast pasture of your herds of light. Strongly we fix our minds by affirmations upon the perfect hymn affirmation of the one whose offering has already been accepted, Ratahavya. So Ratahavya is the name of the Rishi. Ratahavya is the name of the Rishi of this hymn. Sri Aurobindo translates it differently with a deeper connotation. Our mind sees on this perfect affirmation when the God receives our bounteous offering. He transmits the quality of the Rishi's name onto the action of those whose minds are seeking after the higher planes of consciousness, which is quite interesting, for it creates one space within the mind. So what is being done here by Sri Aurobindo, that he translates the name of the Rishi, because actually the very hymn of this Rishi is of that quality. And here it comes. So you can leave
Well,
it.
I think actually all of the rishis have they see themselves. They see their own self, and they see and the name. I would like to actually just talk a little bit about that name, Ratahavya.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Rata is taken or received, Havya offering. It's a Bahuvrihi compound, which means the one whose offering is received. So if Ratahavya is the Rishi who offers something, then his offering is received, either received by himself or received by the divine, which he offers. So whatever he offers, his offering will be received. That means he is in
that's pretty cool.
yes, because offerings are
Very cool.
not always received.
Not always, no. I always tell people this when they ask me about, I'm spending all this money on this gem. Can you give me a guarantee that it's going to work? And I always say to them, I said, this is not allopathic medicine. This is not, allopathy. It's not a transactional situation here. It's a yagya. So you prepare the offering you with this perfect as affirmation, and we purify and cleanse, and we observe all the rites and the rituals around the wearing of the gem, and you offer it, and we can hope that it will be received, but there's no guarantee. There's absolutely no guarantee. Usually, if you offer to the gods in this sacred way, they're happy to have your offering and they will help you, usually, but there's no guarantee, and they don't have to accept it.
Usually it happens for those who really know how to offer and did this not once but often. Then, for example, in my case, I know when the offering is received and when it is not. I know it immediately. Yeah? You can feel it.
Sure, because of your bliss, how much bliss there is.
Or there is
It's from
something
the
else.
bliss.
It's like going through or not. It's like you're coming to the wall, and you cannot break the wall, and that's it, and you are left cut off. Or suddenly there is an opening of the space, like boom, and it is gone. It's taken. You can feel it's gone. The offering is gone,
Yeah.
taken. So then it is taken. Yes, right. So because it's not always that you're calling for bliss, but you may want to give something away. For example, yesterday there was a great day, as Mother calls it, the day of
Raksha
amnesty.
Bandhan.
No, it's Sri Aurobindo's birthday, much bigger than Raksha Bandhan in our view, um, because
Yes.
bigger than independence of India, because it's Independence of India Day, together with Sri Aurobindo's birthday. She says this is the the day of the great amnestia, amnesty, that you can give away anything you want to give away. Yes, sir. So you want to get rid of something, some bad habit, of some, customs which you have, and you're tired of it, some disease, anything. You can give in that day away, and you will be freed from this burden. And it's not necessarily the bliss which will come, but you will feel that it is gone. It is really taken. And it is so vivid, so clear, that you just even wonder whether it was there before.
What did you give away, Vladimir?
Well, there's much to give away.
Indeed, there is. There is, but you can't give all of it away at once. Where you would just deflate and turn into a pile of ashes.
Absolutely, one should concentrate, take one thing at a time, not to give everything away.
Exactly.
Because though sometimes
that's
maybe,
not Vedic. That's not Vedic anyway. You said then you're going away from the world if you give everything away.
Right, we have to give only these bad habits and desires and expectations and turmoils you are in, and something you want to repair, to undo something, untie something, and it is taken.
You know what I would give away? What I would give away if I had the opportunity, which I work at it constantly, but it's still here, and that is I would give away my kind of wretched speech. I'm a very good speaker, but I swear all the time, and I'm always making jokes about things, and I would purify my speech if I could. That's
Really?
why I love this mantra that the Shantipat of Rigveda. I love that mantra because I feel like that's something, if I keep doing it for the rest of my life, eventually maybe the speech will clear itself out.
Yeah, it's a good discovery what you are doing. So you are ready to give away that very, that spicy,
rough
spicy,
speech.
rough speech, on that joking, spicy. It's always dragging you down. I notice I myself like this. Yeah, so I always like to joke and to free myself from every seriousness of the. No, I don't like to be serious in this particular formal way. I don't like formal seriousness. Because it sounds insincere to me. So I will break it with some jokes, stupid jokes, and many
I
times.
don't think jokes are so much the problem is swearing. For me, it's I swear. My parents did. I grew up living around this kind of talk, and so it's very natural for me to do that. And I really would love to have that gone. But once you get into the habit of it, it's really your speech. It just kind of sometimes it doesn't even follow your mind. That's why I love that one remark or that one line in the mantra about my speech is in my mind, because sometimes your speech, it might follow something deeper in the mind or somewhere in the mind that is beyond your reach. It's dug in there somewhere. And when you say, let my speech be in my mind, established in my mind, and my mind established, then you think about it a little bit. There's a moment where you think first, and then it can come out in a very good, clear way that has not got filth on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speech has to be cleaned up. We don't need to fall into this, especially because when speech is marred with these, words which are opening the gates to the lower forces, and it's usually the
Definitely.
case. So we lose our sacrifice, basically. It's like you're throwing into the fire not the oblation of ghee or soma, but some dirt. And of course
Something dirty, yeah.
yeah, and it will be
And it
burned.
gets smoky, then you get smoke.
Yeah, it gets smoky. It will be burned eventually, but you will not grow in fire, in flame. You're kind of always making flame less, blazing and shining, and so We don't need to do this. Yes, there is no use of it or the whatsoever. I can also swear because I was in the army and so on. Army and Russian language is very
Yes.
swearing. But my father never was never swearing. He was totally clean in speech. I never heard him saying one word of swearing in my life. So
Wow.
he was
That's
hardly,
nice.
he was never angry even. It's very, very unusual being. So
Very unusual.
there is somebody to look, up to.
A role model. You have a role model.
Yeah, and I feel his presence, his sattvic presence many times in myself, and I feel so good when I feel him. His smile, he is always tolerant and very precise, also very critical in the mind, but never, how to say, never
When you
destructive.
say critical, you mean discerning,
Yeah,
discriminating,
discerning.
not critical.
Yeah, also critical. He could criticize quite strongly, but there was never this sense of bitterness or there was always a constructive way of coming out of it. Yeah. So
Well, so when I see that I don't have this speech with this dosha, then I will call myself Ratahavya.
okay, Rata, how are you? Yeah,
That's beautiful. This is I think, at least for my consciousness, this is the nectar of this verse is the perfect hymn affirmation of one whose offering has been accepted. That I feel like I learned something today about the Veda from Ratahavya.
yeah. To have your offering accepted, that means a big thing. That means your aspiration is answered. Your, so to say, your pramati, your forward aspiration from the heart, your flame, which is reaching to heaven, is answered from heaven. So every time you aspire, you have the answer.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Oh, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, but I feel like like you said, with this particular dosha, because that's part of the way that we are offering is through our speech. That is part of the sacrifice, is the speech. Isn't that Brihaspati?
Right.
The one. And when there's the filth in your speech, then, like you said, it's smoke. They'll take it because you're offering, but not they won't. It won't be completely burned. It won't be completely accepted.
Yeah, the fire will take it. Yes, it will burn because you have a sincere aspiration, even if your speech is formally not fitting into it, and the formalities will be creating smoke, but it is not clear about the answer, whether the fire will take it and will burn it. But this is an aspiration. But the answer to the fire has to be there. And that is, I think, Ratahavya is exactly that, whose answer is heard, so received, or whose offering is taken. That means that he will have the response or the answer from above, the descent. That will be the answer. In my case, it is always this. If I feel that there is some presence or pressure from above, or even more, something more pervasive, embracing, holding, and suddenly you are totally captive of that force and that bliss, and you cannot get out of it anymore. It's just everywhere throughout your mind. Your vital becomes totally arrested, as it were. You know, you have no space to move anywhere out of it. Then this is the sign of your calling being accepted. That means, and it happens in speech. Usually it is through the word. It's not through anything else. Through action, it's much more
Right.
difficult to do, because action is always engraved in this lower consciousness or unconscious way of being. All these panis, what we call the indriyas of action, are stopping
Do you
us.
think that? Do you think that the reason that that is because so much of the body's functions are what do they call autonomic? In other words, they are happening without your. They're just built into the intelligence of the machinery. The body, you know, your heart beats without your permission. You swallow without permission. You circulate your blood without your. I mean, it's autonomic, and and those things must be run by the vital. They must be.
Right. Well, these are form, five indriyas, karmendriyas. They are
Andrea's
in the Vedas. They are called panis because they evolved from the inconscient. They evolved from total unconscious way of being. They broke through and built up, so to say, consciousness by pressure from above, build up the instruments for its activity in this unconscious world. So these panis are in between these two worlds. They are necessary for the activities of consciousness, but at the same time, their context or their mm, field of application is within inconscient, that where consciousness didn't reach out. We do not have
Is that
full.
when you say that the karmendriyas are the organs of the senses?
Right, they are built-up organs of the senses. This is the problem. If they would be the organs of the senses directly, already kind of available to us from the beginning, then there would be no such case. But they evolved, so to say, starting from amoeba, from monocellular organism.
From the Mahabhutas.
Yes, from the monocellular
They
organism.
evolved from Mahabhutas.
They didn't evolve from Mahabhutas. Mahabhutas is of the fields, and they are the Purusha's faculties. And Purusha, when he attends to Prakriti, he projects his consciousness into Prakriti, where she immediately starts moving, because those faculties are there: seeing, hearing, speaking, thinking. They are all there, projected into her. So she takes them up into this something where there is no body yet, like monocellular organism, and starts developing evolutionary the organs for these faculties. Now these organs are evolving from this amoeba, then to this, then animals, then human beings. Finally we have the whole set available for speech, for thought. Brain is developed, tongue is developed, language is developed. Now these faculties of Purusha can express themselves in the physical, but they evolved from the past. They carry that burden of the past, of being inconscient from the very beginning. So they are, as Aurobindo says, they are not the enemies of the divine, but they are unconscious of the divine, because they evolved from the inconscient from the beginning of trying to project or to reflect the consciousness in this world. So whenever they are activated, they steal our light of perception immediately. They take it on themselves. And not only faculties, but also our mind and our vital is always stealing the inspiration or the what comes to us, the presence. The moment presence is really there, the mind is jumping on it like he wants to possess it, or vital wants to have it, and they actually degrade and destroy the presence. Of course, they build up.
Surely it's better to have the mind. Oh, I was just thinking, surely it's better to have the mind grab it than to have the vital grab it. I mean, it's a higher level
Right.
of something to have it be in the to have the mind be the one
Right.
to. I mean, it's got to be.
Well, yeah, every one of them wants to grab it, even physical wants to grab it, because it gives it a particular authority or particular something which they need for their own self-affirmation. Yeah? And it is a normal way. It is happening all the time. It's not like, but Mother says it should not happen
Sure.
this way. They should not have power to possess and to jump and to take the presence. The presence has to stay as long as it can without them, you know, associate, how to say, mixing that presence with their own stuff and illumining their own small ideas, thoughts, feelings. That's what we want. We want to have those feelings manifested, yes? So they will be doing this for us, but that would be also a way to degrade the presence. So the best way is not to jump on it, to wait, to be silent in the mind, to be quiet in the vital, not passionate, and to allow this deeper presence to penetrate deeper into the vital and mind, to do its work there. We are not letting it do work. We capture it and start doing on the ground of it our own, which is happening all the time. We can see how it happens. So, but it's a very good insight to look at it and to reconsider um, the the activities of our mind and vital when the presence is there. Not to be too enthusiastic, too engaged, too because then
Greedy.
we kill it. We are kind of diluted. Of course, our mind becomes more clever. It becomes more self-assertive. More for the outer world, we become more authoritative. We become an authority for someone. People start respecting us. We are clever. We can manage things. We can answer questions and so on and so forth. We start abusing the spirit and its presence for our own, these egoistic ends. And this is happening. Yeah, we can feel
Right.
it. All right, we discussed this a lot with Radhe. That's why maybe I came to it. How the presence can be abused and misused by our lower members of consciousness. And then there are many false gurus who are doing it already consciously. They are. They have the presence. It's
And
not that,
manipulating others.
yeah, manipulating others by this presence because they attract, the presence attracts, and then it is used to totally for different purpose, for self assertion and promotion and so on.
Yes.
So we are looking at the divine as the helper who would help us to self-assert, to assert ourselves and to promote ourselves and to become stronger in this world. That's how we look at it, instead of looking at it as we are here, the instruments for its embodiment, and have to be totally humble and transparent
Have you been exposed to those? Have you been exposed to those vision boards and the secret and all this invoking spirit in order to be able to manifest all your desires? There's a whole huge movement, at least in the United States, but I'm imagining it's all around the world, of using that power, that spiritual power, to to be able to manifest, your desires. And it's it's like you said, instead of becoming more humble and surrendered, you're becoming like um, more material almost. You're becoming
Mhm.
more. You're using the spirit in order to be able to accumulate. It's for the ego. It's for the sense of the small self.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, well, there is hardly any more divine presence there. It's already kind of vital and mental occult forces are moving there, with all kind of creatures possessing people and possessing their minds, and who want to participate in this manifestation and want to come to the front. So through these people, they can do this, and they offer these people certain advantages in life, and people think that that is the divine and go for it, and finally they end nowhere. um, yeah, it's a big question. Yes, what is happening to us, how we accumulate the
and
present.
then, so in a situation like that, how do you recognize the divine versus those vital forces, or all these other forces that could be, uh, like you said, descending upon an individual in order to be able to, um, you know, take their
Hmm.
experience for themselves.
Well, the
So how do
recognition,
you recognize
right?
what did
Recognition,
Ratahavya do?
yeah, recognition is cannot be explained to the person who didn't have the different experience. Yeah, if a person never had the real divine presence ever, and doesn't know how it feels, it doesn't know how it, you know, how to outwardly, maybe inwardly had somewhere before being born, or in some deep state of meditation something was there, but outwardly never had this presence, then it would be nearly impossible to explain it to anyone, or give a recommendation what it is. But for everyone, this presence of some change or some vital change or some enthusiasm or some inspiration comes, and people immediately associate it with some divine um, work in them, or force in them. There is a force, power, and power is not mine. It comes to me, so I think there must be some other source, and then I attribute it to the divine. But there are so many sources of power in this world which are not the divine. So how could we really explain this unless we know the difference? Yeah? When we felt the presence of the divine, we do not have any superior enthusiasm. It is very different in quality. There is no self-assertion. You disappear totally. You are not important at all. Only the divine is important. You yourself
Right.
is nobody. You don't find yourself anywhere anymore. It's a very different sense. Then these forces come and you become important immediately. You want to do something, to achieve, to realize, to push. You feel power to do things.
Right.
And it is itching, it is giggling, and it makes you excited, uh, really excited. The vital is excited to the extent that you will laugh. Yeah, you want to laugh. It giggles you. And this power, the divine, never giggles, never does this. Uh, you are totally in different sense. You are captive. You are surrendered, and you recognize the hierarchy. What is important and what is not. You can see things and feel them very differently than with this other power. But how to explain it is quite difficult. You have to feel it once. No? It has to come through experience. Feeling is the
Well, if you don't know what the divine if you don't know what the experience of the divine is, it would be hard to protect yourself against the invasion of the snatchers, the the life snatchers.
Right. Yeah, it is not an easy answer. Of course, we cannot protect ourselves until we know what it is, and many times we will be snatched, and many times colonized, and many times abused, and we were like this over millennia, over many births, reincarnations.
Yes.
We grew up through that consciousness, and still there is something in us, in spite of everything. As Mother says, there is this spark, this spark in everyone, divine spark in human beings, in animals, everywhere she can see it. And she says, if that spark would not be there, the vital forces would dominate the world and destroy it already long ago. The vital forces are always hungry for self-assertion, for they want to gobble each other. They fight all the time. They would destroy everything for their own sake. But that's spark within. She says,
Sounds like Trump.
even in criminals, she says, and criminals who are fighting and who are killing others, suddenly in one moment of time they wake up. They say, no, I will not do this. Why? You just did the worst horror in the world, and now in this moment of time you cannot do anything anymore. And you killed all the family, and suddenly one child is there, and you take care of the child, and you're ready to die for that child. Where that is coming from? You are criminal. You are totally vital, driven by vital force, but it comes from that spark. Suddenly, it stops you. It stops that hunger of the vital, and you have to surrender to it. You submit all your vital force to it. So we are protected by that spark. Otherwise, the world would go already long ago into oblivion. And that Trump also on the surface, yes, he is that vital accumulation of force and self-assertion. But there will be, in most unexpected moment, there will be that ding spark, and he will not do what he was meant to do in his mind and vital. Suddenly everything will change in the moment of time. So this is the divine presence in us.
But and isn't it funny? This is time and space we talked about on Wednesday. When is that moment? When will it be this lifetime? Will we have that spark ignite this
Oh,
lifetime?
it is always working in us. All the time, every day. Every day. If it would not be there, our vital force would take over and we would be totally gobbled up. There will be nothing left of us. These cravings of the vital, yeah, which are there, that self-assertion, that aggrandizing, all the time trying to possess and to devour everything for its own sake, it is there all the time. We are also moving with it, but the spark does not allow it to fully manifest. So that's why we are kind of the divine is protecting us from this force. It's quite a unique view. It's given by the mother. That's why I just come to it here, because it explains a lot what it could be if divine would not be here, what these forces would do to us. But it is everywhere, in humans and animals. It's not only in humans. Suddenly animals behave totally different. They are very merciful and very protective and change their behavior. You would not believe that what they can do, animals. There was the whole film about a leopard which attacked a monkey, and wanted to eat monkey. And so he killed the mother, and mother at the moment being killed produced a child. She was pregnant, monkey child. And Leopard took the monkey child as his own child and grew it up until it was unbelievable behavior. You may say it is instinct, you may say whatever, yeah? But we whatever our mind may generate, it doesn't matter. For me, it is something unique. It is a change of behavior, change of pattern. Everything is changed in one moment of time. That is the spark of the divine there, yeah? Which worked, which made the change, which overtook the vital devouring power of the leopard, which it has, of course. It would not survive in his body if it would not follow it. And still, there is balance, and it changed. You know, it's a beautiful film, actually.
So then what about the part of the conversation where everything is divine? Where, I mean, what do you do with that order of reality, where the divine is in every molecule and every moment and all these vital forces, they certainly, surely are also forces of the divine. They're also divine, right? Because from a certain perspective, nothing actually exists and nothing actually happens because it's all divine. And it's just the divine acting on the divine, really, or expressing the divine in all of its multifarious iterations. What do you do with that?
Well, it is true what you say. It's a spiritual look at everything. Yes, if you feel that leopard is the divine, and you give as you divine give to leopard divine yourself, then of course, if you feed the divine and you fed on the divine, divine feeds on itself. Yes, and yes, it's a spiritual look. But there is something else here. The presence in within, and which is viewing everything as on the way to become the divine. Yeah? So that presence from within of the soul is adding to this general acceptance that everything is already the divine, presence or absence of consciousness. As Sri Krishna himself says, I am the knowledge and absence of knowledge. Yeah. So it can be viewed
I
that,
am the knowledge and the knower.
yeah. And he says even more, I'm also
I am the eater. I am the eater, and I'm the eater, and I'm the food.
right. Yes. And the known and unknown I am. And presence and absence of knowledge. So this view, of course, is spiritual view, which is necessary for us to give the space for the soul to emerge. A spiritual view is supportive of the soul's development. Otherwise, we would have only mind, vital, and body, which are dominating us and creating all this egoistic perception. So the spiritual view widens the scope and gives us the view of that we are not these small beings. And then in that vaster view, we can feel the presence of that spark. And that spark can emerge and grow into flame and overtake our existence of our mind, vital, and body. Mm. So these two work together. One is unborn self, another is involved beloved, so to say, looking for that greater beloved, universal one, with whom it wants to join. This is the mystery of our existence. None of these views are sufficient, not the spark, neither the spark nor the everything is the divine, because none of them are totally true, absolutely true. Yeah, because they require the other part to join, and then they become something like truth.
Right.
Otherwise, we will start justifying everything by the divine, all the horrors in the
Yeah.
world, or we will become very concerned about the presence against anti-divine, and will be very fanatic and not tolerating, not viewing wider, not seeing the workings of the divine in nature, so that we will become like monks or something.
Mm.
Yes, here we have Adhahi Kaviya Yuvam Dakshasya Purubhi Hadbhuta Niketuna Jananam Chikethe Puta Dakshasa. Then indeed, O transcendent Godheads, you conquer the sea of wisdoms by the full floodings of the illumined discernment. You perceive knowledge for these human creatures by a perception in which the judgment is purified. Purified judgment. Beautiful. There is no more residue, there is no darkness in the judgment. And judgment becomes the discernment.
Is that Puta Dakshasa?
Yes. Dakshas.
Puta Dakshasa. Dakshasa.
Dakshas is the judgment or the skill or the knowledge, and Puta is purified. Purified knowledge. Bahuvrihi compound. Yeah, they are called as those who have purified judgment. Then indeed, O transcendent Godheads, Adbhuta, you conquer the sea of wisdoms, Kavyani Yuvam, by the full floodings of illumined discernment, Dakshasya Purubhih, by the floodings, Purubhih, of Daksha, you, Yuvam, you both, Adbhuta, transcendent Godheads. Perceive or conquer.
Doesn't Yuva
Yuvam,
mean young?
you both.
Or
No,
Yuvam is that's
it's you.
oh.
You both.
Okay. Both. Okay, that's neuter then, right?
No, it is not neuter. It is actually an pronoun from tvam, yuvam, tvam, yuvam,
Tvam.
yuyam.
Okay.
Yuvam is
Okay.
this dual. You
Right.
both.
Dual.
Mm.
Great. Thank you. Tvam. Yeah. I've got that. We did just get that pronoun, but I haven't memorized it yet.
You perceive knowledge for these human creatures. Niketuna jananam chikethe. You perceive chikethe by this, by a perception in which the judgment is purified. Niketuna. Niketu. Ketu is this ray or the perception from root chi, actually, from which chit is produced. So by this perception or the consciousness, or you whose judgment is purified, perceive chikethe, yeah? Jananam, of the peoples, of those who are born in the body, or for those, Aurobindo translates. Okay, I will read my interpretation. It is only then, after our rigorous and powerful affirmation, that you finally conquer our wisdom by the floodings of your intuition, Niketona. And thus you perceive in the human creatures, all by your complete and perfect perception, you who have pure discernment. The higher consciousness of transcendent Godheads, Adbhuta, finally overflows the poetic and prophetic wisdom of the human seers. It answers to the call, as it were, and takes full charge over the perception of human beings.
So that's what you were talking about. We've been talking about that today.
Yes.
So this is a description of exactly what the experience is like when the divine overtakes the vital and the mental.
Yes, instead it actually replaces the mental with its own presence. Today I was reading this beautiful Sri Aurobindo's verse, The Golden Light, it is called, the poem. And maybe I will find it for you since we are talking about this.
Being overtaken so I mean this seems like a kind of an ultimate kind of experience, kind of a you know the
I didn't post it, but maybe next time. I will not find it now, the golden light. The golden
You
light.
posted it on Facebook? It's on Facebook?
No, I didn't. The golden light came into my mind, he says. The golden light came into my life and into my body and to my feet. And the golden light, when it comes, it replaces the being here and there, replaces the thought producer, the thought factory with its own illumining powers. So here it is the same story, this in this verse, with this intuition of the people. They perceive now, those whose judgment is purified. It is through the perception of the human beings, through these creatures born here in the body, they with their intuition can now perceive, look through the transcendental Godheads. They replace our consciousness, which was built up in evolutionary kind of sense, and now it is um, an embodiment of their light and discernment and knowledge. And even more, he says that even these kavyani are the revelations of the rishis, are being replaced or flooded with this discernment. They are being, how to say, charged with the new energy of consciousness, to the extent that they become a new perception. So this is the transformation through the hymns. Yes, hymns are entries into those changes which take place. But sometimes people do not have enough time to really do it, so they do it partially or not fully or never, just reading hymns and that's it. But the real transformation is to take place. The floodings of the Mitra and Varuna should replace even the revelation of the hymn. The hymn has to become a vision of the transcendental Godheads. All right, we can stop here. I think we are over time. And we continue next time. There are two more.
Oh, it's fabulous. Oh, it's so wonderful.
Yes, it's really wonderful. Okay, let's close with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirmo edhi vedasya mo anisthaha shrutam me ma prahasi anenadhitena horatran sandadhami ritam vadashyami satyam vadashyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.